Chapter 51. 51 Xiao Xian's laughter. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 51 Xiao Xian's laughter. Xiao Xian was always very fast while giving out the payment. When everyone held the heavy coins in their hands, they became happier and more motivated. Ms. Niu came to have a look at the land with her grandson in her arms. She sneered at Xiao Xian for being so stupid. She had just bought a wasted piece of land and was treating it as a piece of treasure. That was simply a waste of money. Moreover, the whole family was helping her with the land. Xiao Xian asked. I wonder whether my cousins are free tomorrow. What about coming over to give us a hand? We are a family, aren't we? We should help each other. Ms. Niu glared at her without hesitation. They are not free. Don't ask them to come here. Then she ran away with grandson in her arms. She was worried that Xiao Xian would catch her if she was even 1 second slower. Xiao Xian was laughing behind her back. 1 wild rooster and 1 rabbit were served at the dinner. The rabbit was cut into slices and fried in hot oil. Then it was woked with peeled garlics and deep-fried dried chilies as well as ginger pieces. Finally, a dish of fried rabbit was made. The wild rooster was turned into a very light dish. A bowl was used to hold the sliced chicken, which was later steamed in water. The soup turned out to be white, tender and sweet. 2 dishes of vegetables were cooked, which made the dinner table full of meat and vegetables. They were all tired from labor work today, but the food made them brighten up. They all spoke highly of the delicacies. From time to time, they had eaten wild roosters and rabbits, but they were never cooked in this way. They all spoke highly of Xiao Xian's cooking skills. She was considered smart as well. Eldest uncle said nothing. He thought that his brothers had got some share too. During the daytime, Ms. Fong had already dealt with the wild rooster and rabbits well. She put them into a jar so it would not go bad even after half a month. Xiao Xian was thinking that maybe Xiao Xiaoqi could bring some to the town and sell it. But they could only start with acquaintances. Otherwise some hooligans might lay eyes on them. Normally, restaurants had a set menu, and their own resources. Otherwise they would not accept some random wild roosters and rabbits. But they could work on some rich families who had good air. When they got the praise, they could try selling those animals to them. The group spent 1.5 a day cleaning up the 13 mu land, and they hired 2 masons to build up the 4-side wall, which took another 1.5 a day. Xiao Xian did not want anyone to sneak a peek at her land, so she had a concrete wall built with bricks, not with fences. The wall was as tall as 3 meters. Then she opened 2 doors from her own yard, and chained it up. Wasteland was done. Xiao Xian asked Xiao Daolong and the team to clean up 60 mu of land at the entrance of the village. What they needed to do was to clear up the bushes and weeds. Xiao Daolong and the team accepted the mission directly. Ms. Su was glad too. She was counting how much money she would get after 4 days, which would be enough for the team to finish their work. In this way, she and her husband were going to get 81, half of which would be shared with the rest of the family and half would be kept for themselves. Xiao Xian felt really satisfied when she saw the achievement. But a row broke out in the village. Look at Xiao Dakuan's family. The daughter-in-law is making a wall around that wasteland. That is such a waste of money. The amount spent should be enough to build a brick house. Splurging housewife, what a splurging housewife. Chapter 52. 52 Splurging housewife. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 52 Splurging housewife. This is ridiculous. No one cares about that move. It is such a waste of land and money. Ms. Fong should be a fierce mother-in-law. She is being so stupid now. Well, that daughter-in-law is the child of a county officer. She must be dominating the whole family. Even if Ms. Fong is fierce, so what? It is such a misfortune that they have a daughter-in-law like this. They are going to have a very difficult time in life. Many people got jealous of Xiao Yunduan, who married the daughter of the county magistrate. They were all waiting to see the ridiculous scenes arising from the Xiao family. They were all ears for such gossip. Almost everyone around nodded and agreed. They started to mock the Xiao family, as if there was definitely going to be a lot of unpleasantness since Xiao Yunduan married Xiao Xian. Eventually, they all came to one conclusion. Just wait and see. It is never going to stop. But what is the daughter-in-law doing inside the wall? Someone asked. They were all startled. Yes, what is she doing? It is so stupid to have built a wall around a wasteland. They dropped the topic when they failed to come to a conclusion. But whenever they had a get-together, they would always gossip about the splurging housewife of the Xiao family, and even made up a lot of jokes, just to wait and see how the family was going to deal with the trouble. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were also very curious. They went to the door and asked what was going on. Xiao Xian never tried to conceal the truth. So she said straightforwardly, planting fruit trees and mushrooms. But she skipped telling them about the medical herbs. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, who did not believe what Xiao Xian was saying, started to mumble among themselves when they saw the serious look on Xiao Xian's face. But that wasteland is full of stones, hard and thin, not a good place for fruit trees at all. You are just wasting your money. True, you might as well give me the bricks to build a pigsty. Xiao Xian. Xiao Xian let them talk without saying anything in return. When they learned the answer, they started to spread the story and it became the topic of gossip among the villagers. The following day, Xiao Xian started to buy fruit trees in the village. She picked the really thick ones, cut them and transplanted them directly. She explained to those confused people that she would do something about it later. She needed bowl-thick or arm-thick ones, which could be transplanted directly. In the village, some fruit trees were planted in front of and behind the houses, in the corner of the vegetable garden, and on the edge of the field. Although most of the fruit trees that were planted in this manner were actually unable to bear fruit at all. In spring, the flowers were full of trees and lively, and the small fruits were densely packed, but basically they could not be kept. When rain came constantly, they tended to fall little by little. In autumn, it was very difficult for them to have any good fruits to eat. Only bayberry, persimmon, loquat, and jujube would have been harvested. But the harvest only happened in some years, not every year. Usually, the main function of these fruit trees was the natural melon shelf. Everyone liked to dig a hole under the tree to plant some melons, and then let the melon vines climb up, such as pumpkin, winter melon, gourd melon, loofah, and so on. Therefore, the so-called fruit trees were worth no money in other people's eyes. When Xiao Xian decided to buy the fruit trees, everyone was laughing at her. What are you buying these for? For firewood. She knows nothing. She has never lived in the countryside before. She thinks that only by buying the fruit trees would get fruits. Haha. Chapter 53. 53 Rich. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 53 Rich. It is not the right season. The plants would not survive. She is just being ridiculous, but she is rich and can do whatever she wants. Just leave her alone. They were all in a happy chat as if they were all experts in farming whilst Xiao Xian was just a spendthrift girl who knew nothing. Moreover, when Xiao Xian spent 50 when buying a very large pear tree, everyone got really excited. They all came to the Xiao family and offered to sell their fruit trees. Xiao Xian told others with a smile that she would only buy the fruit trees that she liked. Hence, the neighbors did not have to be so active in offering her the trees. After all, she only needed 2 or 3 fruit trees of each kind. The villagers did not believe her. They kept pushing the fruit trees towards her and asked her to buy some more. I will sell them to you at a lower price. Yes, you can get more trees for your wide land. Xiao Xian kept the smile on her face when she expressed what she was thinking. She had no energy to chit-chat with these people endlessly. Ms. Fang could not stand such pushy behavior anymore and drove everyone away. But she was also a little worried and reminded Xiao Xian. Ms. Qiao, it is getting very hot and the fruit trees are full of leaves. I don't think that the trees would be alive for too long. Xiao Xian smiled. Don't worry, Mom. I know what to do. Ms. Fang smiled. Okay, then I will not say anything more. With strange people like the second and the third sections of the family existing, Ms. Fang thought that everyone else was really good. Although Ms. Su had some plans of her own, she was still better than those from the other sections of the family. She was always very tolerant of her own family. Xiao Xian was using her own money to make the trouble, and she as the mother.in law would not make any decisions for her. The following day, Xiao Yunduan intended to go to the school, so he left early in the morning. Xiao Xian asked Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Tao Tao to clear up the weeds in the village, so that they could help to dig holes to plant fruit trees. Xiao Xian wanted these trees because she craved fruit. Also, the garden was good to get shelter during summer, especially for escaping from the heat, playing on the swings and doing grilled food, so fruit trees were not going to take up all the space. The land was hard, but Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Tao Tao, who were used to farm work, did not think that it was a difficult job. They just needed to spend some more time on it. Xiao Xian had intended to offer some help, but she was really bad at it. She could not even pick the shovel. She panted after a while, making Xiao Tao Tao and her brother chuckle. They all asked her not to try it anymore. Xiao Xian said to them embarrassedly, I will make good food for you tonight. Then she gave up. Xiao Xian planned the orchard on the far side, occupying an area of about 4 mu. She only planned to plant about 30 to 40 trees on 1 mu, about 100 trees on 3 mu, and another acre of grapes and watermelons, which should be enough to eat. They could even make dried fruits and fruit jams. She had her superpower and could ensure that the trees would grow and thrive. She even intended to give it a try in the future when the brokers would try to get some longan, lychee, mango, jackfruit and cantaloupe from the frontier from other places or even the south. With the help of her superpower, those trees would definitely survive. Chapter 54. 54 A Lucky Star. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 54 A Lucky Star. Xiao Xian suddenly remembered the flourishing space, seeing the holes being dug. She started to concentrate. She could not help but get startled. Those 2 Ganoderma lucidum had grown bigger and were full of spiritual energy, exuding a faint medicinal fragrance, which was really refreshing. There was a spring pool of about 2 square meters on the side. The pool had no exit or entrance. The spring water looked very clear, but the bottom could not be seen. She tried to move some grass from outside but failed. It seemed that this space was very critical. It did not take in anything or everything. It only accepted Ganoderma lucidum, for example. She tried to pull out the spring, yet nothing happened, which made her feel disappointed. But the next second, Xiao Xiaoqi cried out in surprise. Water, there is water here. What? Really? Xiao Xian and Xiao Tao Tao were both surprised. They rushed out and checked. Xiao Xiaoqi was so happy. Her eyes were sparkling as she was smiling. They kept digging and the spring spurted out. Ah! It is really spring water. Oh, that is great. Xiao Tao Tao screamed as she spinned around on the spot. Xiao Xian smiled too. Yes, this is fantastic. It must be the spring from her space. Good, she did not have to worry a thing about watering. And it was a great relief for them. There were only 3 springs in the village. They had to carry water to their home when they needed some at home. But with this spring here, all they needed to do was to get the water out to the yard, which made it handy for them to use water. Xiao Tao Tao rushed out happily. I am going to tell my mom. Soon Miss Fong rushed over too. She got so happy seeing the water. She struck her thigh and smiled. Ms. Chiao, you are such a lucky star. You are a lucky star. They needed to use water every day, and it was so annoying and painstaking to carry water. This spring just saved all the trouble. Who would have expected that spring appeared on this deserted land? Seeing the water rushing out, Miss Fong got both happy and nervous seeing that there was no sign that there was any end to the water. Keep this a secret, let's just see what is happening. This wasteland did not seem to be a place that should have a spring, and they wondered if the water would keep on running forward, or was it gushing out just for a moment? What if it was simply a momentary thing? When Xiao Yunduan returned in the evening, Miss Fong revealed the story to the family. The whole family was shocked. They all headed towards the yard and tried to check it out. The spring was still leaking. The tree hole wasn't so large, and the water had already wetted the land. That is so good, it is so good. Eldest uncle just got so excited that he could not talk. It would be so convenient for us to use water. Haha. Xiao Sanlang said happily. Ms. Su was laughing with tears in her eyes. It was always her husband who had to carry the water, and now the labor was saved. Xiao Yunduan raised his eyebrows slightly. It was such an unbelievable thing. This land was not like a place where water could gush out. How did she find the spring just after some digging? The land should have been flourishing if there had been water underneath. Chapter 55. 55 Praise. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 55 Praise. But it was a fact. Seeing was believing, wasn't it? Xiao Yunduan just could not believe what he had seen, nor could he find the logic of what he witnessed. It was indeed a magical world. He could not help but glance at Xiao Xian. His wife was indeed blessed. No wonder his mother kept calling her the lucky star. Xiao Xian caught Xiao Yunduan's sight and smiled at him. She blinked and chuckled. Am I very lucky? She sounded so proud that Xiao Yunduan could not help but laugh. She was like an arrogant fox who had raised her tail. He nodded. Yes, you are very lucky. In this case, I have achieved so much at home. Try speaking highly of me. Xiao Yunduan. Xiao Yunduan just could not utter a word. How should he praise her? Xiao Xian chuckled, seeing his reaction. Seeing the man got so bashful, she added another sentence. You don't have to compliment me or praise me, but you have to promise to defend me and stand by my side. Xiao Yunduan moved his lips. He could speak highly of people, except that he just did not understand what she was talking about. He nodded and took a deep breath. I will definitely defend you. He was going to stand by her, since she was paying so much attention to the Xiao family. Satisfied, Xiao Xian raised her lips. You have to remember what you said today. She was going to remind him of this whenever she had the chance, so he could bear what she had said in his mind firmly. She gradually understood that a woman was born in a disadvantageous place in this era, and she needed someone to lean on. For example, but for Xiao Yunduan and mother.in.law, the second and the third sections of the family would have torn her apart, and allowed no chance for her to talk sense. Don't worry. Early next morning, everyone from the family wanted to check if the water spring was still active. Xiao Xian was no exception. It was the first time for her to do this thing and she wondered if the spring would remain thriving any longer. Seeing that the spring was still active and water was coming out of the whole family cheered as if the new year was around the corner. This is a real spring. Oh God, my hanging heart can settle down now. Ms. Fong said as she patted her chest, smiling. Eldest uncle was excited too. I will get someone to get the water to our yard, so we don't have to worry about water anymore. Ms. Fong nodded with a smile. Let's do it now. She cooked porridge and steamed buns just to celebrate the discovery of the spring. The stuffing of the steamed buns consisted of 2 kinds of leek vermicelli eggs, diced sauerkraut bamboo shoots and diced mushrooms. The stuffing made by Qiao Xian was full of flavor, thin on the wrapping and big in size. When they were out of the steamers, they smelled great. Everyone was speaking highly of the soft, fresh taste of the warm steamed buns. After breakfast, Xiao Dalong got so excited that he was urged by Ms. Su to start the work for their sister-in-law. So, Xiao Sanlang followed them up to the field. After all, they could make 21 a day. Eldest uncle was in charge of the spring, so his sons did not stay at home but went to work instead. Eldest uncle soon asked the well expert from the neighboring village. Qiao Xian had her own idea and expressed her suggestions. Chapter 56. 56 Ms. Fong's welcoming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 56 Ms. Fong's welcoming. The following were her suggestions. For the pool in the yard, the best bricks should be built around it so only one hole of the spring was shown. A patch of brick land was to be built around, which would make it easier for the water to be used for the garden. After that, an underground ditch would be dug to lead the spring water from the garden to the courtyard. The underground ditch would also be covered with blue bricks and built on both sides. In this way, the land would be flat and the surface will not be ruined. Nor would the spring be dirted. Then, they would dig a pool in the backyard to connect the water for easy takeout. But the exit would remain hidden, so that it could leak straight to the sewers and ditches in the village. Xiao Yunduan nodded. Dad, Mom, it sounds very convenient. Ms. Fong agreed too, seeing that her son had said yes. She smiled. I think it is a good idea. What about doing it like this? Eldest uncle was worried about spending money. So he hesitated. The bricks are not cheap. We have to spend money. The well expert's mouth twitched, thinking that the garden behind was completely made of blue bricks, right? Since they could use it for the land, then why not for the water? Ms. Fong had a clearer mind in this aspect than him. She said resolutely, it doesn't cost much. It is going to be very convenient too. Let's do it this way now. Eldest uncle nodded eventually. The well expert patted the thighs and said with a smile, good. It is very sunny these days, let's start the project as soon as possible. Good, good. That the active spring was discovered in the wasteland in the yard of the Xiao family was spread all over the whole village. What? A spring in that wasteland? An active spring, that can't be possible. Is it real? They all got shocked and rushed to have a look at the place. Elder uncle was smiling brightly while he was engaged in the work with the well expert, with Xiao Xiaoqi helping alongside. Ms. Fong was receiving guests who wanted to have a look at it. That is a real, active spring. Just take a look at it as much as you want. My Duan is very lucky to have got a really good wife who has brought so much fortune to us since she marries him. A spring from a wasteland. Now we have water in the yard, and it makes everything so easy. More convenient than a well. And it saves us the trouble of carrying the water. We don't have to spend any more effort. Ms. Fong was showing off without trying to conceal a thing. Everyone forced a small smile and answered with, oh yes, true, very convenient. But they were not actually glad to see this. Why did they never run into anything good like this? They had been laughing at the wasteland a couple of days ago, but now the family got an active spring. Look at the spring. It looked so vibrant and clear. Ms. Fong felt even more happy seeing everyone's face. They had been bad-mouthing her and the family behind their back, and she knew everything they had said. Now they were slapped right on the face, right? Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were among the group who had watched the show. They felt so sour inside their hearts. After all, they were the ones who laughed loudest at them a couple of days ago. Ms. Ma, who felt really sour, could not help but spit out. Springs here are not reliable. They get dried up in a couple of days. You don't have to spend so much efforts on it. What about waiting for some more days? Ms. Nyo laughed. That is so true. Chapter 57. 57 Water in House. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 57 Water in House. Ms. Nyo and Ms. Ma kept saying bad words, and that made everyone else also laugh. They all started to gossip loudly. Ms. Fong was so furious inside her heart, but she said calmly, "Don't worry, sisters. In law, the spring was discovered a couple of days ago, and it is still running right now." Ms. Ma snorted and said timidly, "I am just reminding you out of kindness." Ms. Fong showed a false smile. "Oh, thank you very much for the reminder." Ms. Ma. The spring remained active, no matter how much the outsiders expected it to run dry. The work was done in the evening. The clear water ran through the brick-built hidden passage and went into the pool in the yard. The pool was filled with water until it leaked out through the hidden passage. Soon the soil and sand were all filtered through, and the water filled up the pool, clear and clean. In order to prevent dirt from easily falling into the garden, the two pools in the garden in the backyard were built to be 3 bricks higher than the ground and were square, making it clean and easy to use. The whole family got so happy seeing the pool of water. After dinner, they got down to their own business. Second uncle and third uncle came with weird looks on their faces. That Xiao Xian had hired some people to help with the land was leaked out, and second uncle and third uncle both heard about the news. Both of them were feeling really annoyed inside their hearts. Moreover, when the spring was discovered in the yard, they felt even more distressed. They came over to make complaints. "Brother, you are isolating us. 21 a day, you would rather give them to others than to us. Yes, it is so hurtful. You are even trying to hide it from us. But for the leakage, we would not have known about this at all. You are always talking about being the same family." Well, eldest uncle was confused but smiled. "Don't get mad, you must have been mistaken. They are just here to help us, and we offer them lunch, but no salary. We will help them back when they need help in the future." Third uncle was annoyed. "Now, you are even lying to us. You are." "No." Eldest uncle called Xiao Yunduan and Xiao Xian over, asked them about this. Xiao Yunduan thought for a while and threw a quick look at Xiao Xian. "We did not talk about salary before, but they were doing a lot of work, so Miss Xiao offered the salary when she felt very guilty." Second uncle and third uncle turned to elder uncle and showed a "look. What did I said" expression on their faces. "Then, we can ask our sons to help you. You have to pay them too." Xiao Lulang, sixth son, was the only child of the third section of the family and he was studying in the school. Hence, third uncle said, "I will be there too." Xiao Xian smiled. "It would be great if you want to offer help. But second uncle and third uncle, we are a family, aren't we? We can't take money from each other, can we?" "True," Xiao Sanlang could not help but mumble. "We helped you so many times, but you never pay us anything, not even food." Chapter 58. 58 Heart Breaking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 58 Heart Breaking. Second uncle and third uncle did not hear what Xiao Sanlang said, so they countered Xiao Xian simultaneously. "We are separated, we are not a family. Brothers should get paid too, it is fair, isn't it?" "True." Elder uncle's face turned pale the minute he heard their remarks. How could his brother say those words? They would not have become so mad as to get confused in their heads, would they? Did they not keep saying that they were not separated, but a whole family? Eldest uncle heard what Xiao Sanlang said as well. He was not very pleased. Suddenly, he felt a bit emotional. Xiao Xian showed her arms and said disappointedly, "So, you never thought that we are a family?" Second uncle got startled and brought himself back, as he looked at eldest uncle subconsciously. "Don't try to turn white into black. Brother, I don't mean this, I mean, you can pay us rather than paying outsiders, right?" Xiao Xian sneered inside her heart. Well, that was true, but they never worked hard even when they were paid. Elder uncle sighed and could not utter a word, as he turned to Qiao Xian. Bedo Dun Qiao Xian said, I have already paid everyone, and the work should be finished within a day. So, I might consider your offer next time if we have similar work to do. It was not an easy place to clean. There was grass, weeds and bushes. It would take 5 or 6 more days. Qiao Xian was just trying to shift the whole thing as long as she could. All she needed to do was to say some words. She could just make up any number of excuses as she wanted, and could always find some new ones. Xiao Yunduan added. True, we are all living in one village and it is not proper to ask for the payment back, right? Eldest uncle, who was hurt by what his 2 brothers said, got so confused in mind, so he reacted to Xiao Yunduan's words instinctively. True. Both second uncle and third uncle were taken aback. Their brother had always stood by their sides and he never turned down their demands. But at this moment, his brother ended the hope by just saying such words. And he showed nothing. Qiao Xian smiled. Second uncle and third uncle, we will definitely turn to you for help in the future. We are one family, right? We don't have to split hairs, and it can save me a lot of money too, right? You, third uncle, got anxious. Second uncle also exchanged a strange look with him. Then you should take us family into consideration when you have something good to offer. After that, we can talk about payment. What did she mean by saving her a lot of money? They were a family, right? Why save money? She had 26 sets of dowry and so much gold and silver. How could she be so stingy? Qiao Xian smiled and said nothing more. Second uncle and third uncle left, looking unsure. Xiao Sanlang pursed his lips. If I am asked to plow and put down crops for them in a while, I am going to ask for money too, or at least lunch. Just drop it. Eldest uncle threw his temper at his son and said angrily, why so much talk? Chapter 59. 59 Nonsense. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 59 Nonsense. He had intended to put forward the family talk, but when he thought of what his brothers had just said, he swallowed his words. He said stiffly, they help us too, right? Xiao Sanlang got even more mad. They help. I would rather that they don't come. They just make us so angry. Whenever it came to the busy season, the first section of the family would always help the second and the third sections of the family to finish their labor before the other 2 sections came to help them. But the other 2 sections always idled around and never did any good work. They were never helpful. Moreover, the first section had to serve them 3 meals a day. If chicken was not served at dinner, they would even complain. But when they helped the other 2 sections, they not only got no breakfast, but also really little porridge. When dinner came, they served the meal with only soup and a lot of chicken bones. That was what they considered to be chicken dinner. When Xiao Yunduan heard what Xiao Sanlang said, he took Qiao Xian away. They had just walked out of the room when Xiao Sanlang's scream arose. He was begging. Dad, don't hit me, please, don't. Xiao Xian laughed. Xiao Yunduan threw a look at her. This is what Dad has always been like. He can't change so fast. Therefore, when Xiao Sanlang kept nagging about what he had been through, he meant that every time their father got humiliated, he started to teach the son a lesson. Xiao Xian said, do you think your dad is right? Xiao Yunduan shook his head. No, but it will take time for him to change. Xiao Xian smiled. That was true. The following day, Xiao Daolong and the team were still working on the land, whilst Xiao Xian, together with Xiao Taotao and Xiao Xiaoqi were working on the fruit trees in the yard. She bought fruit trees from a very generous seller who not only helped to dig out the trees but also helped to carry the trees to the yard. The trees can live on like this? Someone asked. Xiao Xian smiled and said confidently, of course, it is springtime and it is much easier to water the plants. They will definitely live on. That man said nothing more. It was getting very hot and trees could not grow so well. Watering much did not help the trees to grow. She was talking nonsense. Well, she was wasting her own money, after all. When the seller sold the tree, he took a walk around the river and found a new budding tree for himself. Within 2 days' time, there were 2 loquats trees, 2 dates trees, 1 pomegranate tree, 2 persimmon trees, 2 bayberry trees, 2 plum trees, 2 pear trees, 1 hawthorn, and 2 peach trees in Xiao Xian's yard. Apart from the 2 date trees and bayberry trees as well as pear trees which were as large as a bowl, many were transplanted here after being chopped, and the others were as large as the surface of the bowl, and were transplanted to this place after only a few twigs were chopped. There were even some fruits hanging from the twigs. Xiao Xian poured her superpower into the trees. Hence, the trees turned green and looked alive the following day. But she did not use too much superpower, otherwise they would have grown better. In this way, Xiao Xian was satisfied. She poured in superpower every now and then, so the trees could become really good after just a few months. By that time, no one would find the growth to be strange. Chapter 60. 60 Xiao Xian's attention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 60 Xiao Xian's attention. Seeing that the fruit trees were growing nicely, Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao were both very happy as well. They spoke highly of the spring here, which should be very practical to water the plants. Xiao Xian was thinking about the wild lemons she saw at Wangqing Mountains, so she went into the mountains with Xiao Xiaoqi and Taotao. Wild lemons were good for making food and seasoning, as well as perfume making. They already finished consuming the wild animals they got from the last hunt. Xiao Xiaoqi smiled as he said, I have been planning to visit the mountains, and if you want to go to Wangqing Mountains, we can go there together. Xiao Yunduan also decided to tag along, since he had gotten tired of reading. He needed to have a walk in the mountains. Xiao Xian had paid attention to the spot of wild lemons, so they found what they needed very fast. In one ditch there were more than a dozen wild lemon trees growing, 2 of which were as large as arms and were carried home by Xiao Xian. For her, any broken twigs could become budding trees, and they did not need to bring too many of those home. They were so lucky that they found 1 bergamot tree, which Xiao Xian decided to bring back as well. Then she asked Xiao Xiaoqi to help dig 2 wild grape trees. When the trees they needed were picked, they hid them into the bushes and would carry them back when they were heading home. Only now did Xiao Xiaoqi start to lead them to hunt for animals. This time, Xiao Xian did not use her superpower to hunt prey for Xiao Xiaoqi. Instead, she had been using her superpower to search for some precious plants. The 2 Ganoderma lucidum were not enough to develop the space, and she needed to add some more things inside. Without the guidance of superpower, Xiao Xiaoqi took some time to find the preys. But he was not in a hurry either. He was guiding Xiao Xian and the rest of his team to walk through the woods. It took them almost an hour before Xiao Xian found a patch of wild orchids, one of which looked more than ordinary. Ednel.co She had no idea what the orchids were called, but she believed that they were very precious. Xiao Xian's eyes brightened, as she walked towards that plant. The others did not care about the direction either, because they were idling in the woods anyway. Therefore, they caught up with Xiao Xian. Look, darling, the orchids look so beautiful. What about taking them home? They look very nice and graceful. Scholars tended to like this kind of thing. Xiao Yunduan had no such hobbies, but he threw a few more glances at the orchids when he heard what she said. They did look very good. So he was persuaded and nodded. Sounds good. Xiao Xiaoqi and Xiao Taotao exchanged a surprised look between themselves. They just could not understand why the orchids looked elegant. Xiao Xian headed towards the special orchid, bent and picked it up. But she kept the posture instead of straightening up. The next moment, her hands were empty and next to the spring there appeared another bunch of orchids, facing the Ganoderma lucidum in the space. The long leaves were hanging down, dangling beautifully. Qiao Xian could feel that the space became even more lively, not to a large degree, but there were some changes. Overjoyed, Qiao Xian realized that the space would take in any precious plants. She was right about the orchid being more than ordinary, but what was it called? Also, the space was so craving and demanding so many things. She would feed the space when she had something good. The activeness of the space would frighten anyone who saw it.